One.
Good afternoon. I'm Dr. Lynn Basham, Technology Education and Related Clusters Specialist with the Virginia Department of Education. It's been an exciting process to work with the energy industry to develop this cluster, the pathways, and the courses. We'll begin with a presentation by Spencer Stanholtz, Research and Policy Analyst with the Weldon Cooper Center at the University of Virginia. Spencer?
Thanks for having me. One thing is certain in these uncertain times is the value of energy and power. The energy industry is the foundation for and a vital economic driver of Virginia's ability to grow and thrive. It provides gainful employment to many Virginians. Homes, businesses, and economic activities statewide rely on stable, reliable, and affordable energy systems, making it vital that educational programs provide the industry with capable employees and prepare the Commonwealth's workforce with the skills needed to succeed in energy-related jobs. With this in mind, 2019 session of the Virginia General Assembly enacted a Senate bill to create the 17th Career Cluster in Energy. In order to develop the structure for the new cluster, we at the Weldon Cooper Center at the University of Virginia, assisted by conducting research about the energy industry in Virginia and its associated career pathways. In our research, we found many insights into the energy industry that may be useful to CTE educators and administrators as they prepare to implement this new cluster. The energy industry is complex and currently comprises occupations that span multiple career clusters and industries. In order to structure an energy career cluster, this presentation presents data organized into the following categories: the broad structure and sectors of the energy industry. Then we'll move on to the nature of the industry in Virginia, including trends, the Virginia Energy Plan, which is a policy plan that will affect job growth moving forward. And then we look at some identified jobs in the industry, along with selected employment projections. Finally, I'll end with a brief discussion regarding the implementation of the new energy cluster. For consistent methodology, we divided our analysis into the industry sectors shown here. These were outlined by the U.S. Energy and Employment Report. The fuels production sector incorporates occupations involved in accessing the natural resources used as fuel, including extraction, mining, and processing. It can be subdivided into four main categories: coal, natural gas, nuclear, and biomass. The sector doesn't include the distribution and storage of these materials. The electric power generation sector represents occupations that directly assist the utility and non-utility generation of power, including four primary technologies: coal-fired electric generation, natural gas-fired electric generation, nuclear power generation, and the generation of power through renewable technologies. Renewable technology, as it applies to Virginia, includes solar, wind, hydroelectric, and biomass. The transmission, distribution, and storage sector encompasses occupations associated with constructing, operating, and maintaining energy infrastructure, such as power lines, power and pipeline construction, fuel distribution and transport, and the manufacture of electrical transmission equipment. The sector can be divided into three main categories: traditional transmission and distribution of electricity and fuels, storage of that electricity and those fuels, and grid technologies. The energy efficiency sector is the last sector, and it involves occupations engaged in the production and installation of energy-saving products and the provision of services that reduce end-use energy consumption. This sector can be divided into four primary categories: Energy Star and efficient lighting, heating, ventilation, and air conditioning, HVAC, advanced materials, and then other. This is the only sector with an other subsector due to the wide range of occupations that can fit into this sector. Careers in energy policy, law, or advocacy could fit under this category. Well, let's first take a look at some of the nature and trends of these sectors in Virginia. So this chart shows the distribution of fuel production in Virginia. Coal is the most produced fuel in Virginia, followed by nuclear power, then renewables, and natural gas. The figure illustrates that coal is at 37% and nuclear at 35%, present the two largest sources of energy for Virginia as of 2019, with renewables at 15% and natural gas at 13%, also contributing a noticeable supply. However, production of coal is declining, as seen here, and has decreased by more than half in the past 30 years. Although Virginia's natural gas production has increased substantially during the past 3 decades, production still only equals slightly more than 1/5 of the state demand and has leveled off in recent years, decreasing from its peak in the early 2010s. Most of Virginia's natural gas supply is delivered by several major interstate natural gas pipelines, as the state holds less than 1% of the nation's total natural gas reserves. There is potential for growth, however, in coal bed methane natural gas. The state contains about 1/5 of U.S. coal bed methane crude reserves, the 3rd largest amount of any state. So moving on to electric power generation, we see what sources are used to generate power in Virginia's plants, and this chart is similar to the one we've seen before. So Virginia ranks 16th among states in net electricity generation as of March 2019. Natural gas fuels the largest share, about 1/2 of Virginia's net electricity generation, and the state's 2 nuclear power plants provide an additional 1/3. Even though coal comprises the majority of fuel production, it fuels only about 14% of Virginia's power generation. The remainder, it's about 7% of electric power generation, is supplied by renewables such as biomass, hydropower, petroleum, and solar photovoltaic. So looking at these generation trends, we see that coal-fired power supplied the largest share of the state's net generation up until 2009, when it was surpassed by nuclear power. As coal-fired generation decreased, natural gas-fired generation increased and exceeded that of coal by 2012. By 2015, natural gas-fired generation surpassed that of nuclear power, becoming the state's largest power-generating fuel source. Renewables are rapidly on the rise as sources of electricity generation in Virginia. Biomass in the form of wood and wood waste provide the largest share among renewables. In fact, until 2015, when it leveled off, biomass use had been increasing each year. Around the same time, solar photovoltaic began contributing a small but increasing amount of distributed and utility-scale electricity generation. The Solar Energy Industries Association projects that solar energy will grow by an additional 3,800 megawatts, over the next 5 years, which is 6th in the nation. Hydroelectric power, including pumped hydroelectric storage, is the renewable source with the greatest generating capacity in Virginia, but its use has remained steady over the past 10 years because it's not economically viable to build large hydropower projects in Virginia. Although not yet fully developed in Virginia, wind energy could also provide potential opportunities off Virginia's Atlantic coast in the Chesapeake Bay, which we'll discuss here in a moment. In addition to industry trends, an energy career cluster should take into account the priorities presented in the Commonwealth of Virginia's policy directions. An understanding of this allows students and job seekers to make informed career choices. Virginia's regulatory structure has historically focused on the traditional power sector model of large centralized power stations and conventional transmission and distribution infrastructure. However, distributed energy resources such as rooftop solar, smart meters, battery storage, electric vehicles, and other innovative technologies are likely to make up an ever-increasing share moving forward. Recent legislative and executive action has clearly set the future course with the Virginia Clean Economy Act, the Grid Transformation Security Act, and the Clean Energy Virginia Initiative. The Virginia Clean Economy Act, which was signed in April of this year, requires all carbon-emitting sources of electricity in the Commonwealth to retire by 2050, while replacing them with new investments in solar, onshore wind, offshore wind, energy efficiency, and battery storage. These clean energy policy also declared that 5,200 megawatts of offshore wind generation and about 1,600 megawatts of solar and onshore wind is in the public interest and should be implemented by 2034. The law is even more aggressive in phasing out coal, requiring closure of nearly all coal-fired plants in the state by the end of 2024. The transition to clean energy will include energy efficiency requirements, a cap and trade program, offshore wind generation, and solar distributed energy generation. In parallel, the Act will also fund job training and renewable energy programs in historically disadvantaged communities. The bill will make Virginia the first Southern state with a 100% clean energy standard and will create thousands of clean energy jobs. Virginia has also recently outlined to begin achieving these goals with the announcement of the Clean Energy Virginia Initiative. This program was launched in July and will drive investment in renewable energy and energy efficiency and help meet the Commonwealth's goals for clean energy production. The program will provide new educational tools and resources to clean energy businesses that are interested in expanding or locating in Virginia. As part of the new initiative, the Department of Mines, Minerals, and Energy will launch a 5-part webinar series to educate businesses and stakeholders on recent legislation, including the Virginia Clean Economy Act, and highlight opportunities for clean energy businesses to expand or locate in Virginia. Above all, this will again lead to numerous clean energy jobs in Virginia moving forward. Just one example, offshore wind has an ambitious future in Virginia, with Dominion just completing 2 test turbines. Dominion Energy plans to invest nearly $8 billion in expanding these into what will become the largest wind farm in federal waters in the United States, consisting of 220 giant wind turbines on a patch of ocean 27 miles off the coast. The project plans to generate 2,600 megawatts of electricity by 2026, enough energy to power about 650,000 homes. Virginia's strategic mid-Atlantic location and recent investments and upgrades to the Port of Virginia also creates supply chain potential. Virginia could create thousands of jobs building components such as foundations and offshore substations for offshore facilities all up and down the East Coast. So these investments and goals will lead to the creation of new jobs and demand for more workers in the energy industry, which is in the midst of a significant transformation. It is important to note that not only will renewables and energy efficiency continue to grow due to increasing demand and resulting continued growth of the traditional energy sector, fuels production, traditional power generation, combined with an aging workforce, more workers will be needed in energy-specific jobs all around. Overall, the industry, which is rapidly transforming as a result of new technology and innovative approaches, will need a workforce that's more diverse, complex, and digitally literate. So, current energy jobs across industries, and the U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics doesn't really provide data for energy industry separately, which makes it difficult to estimate the availability of and demand for energy jobs. For the purposes of the next few slides, we drew from the U.S. Energy and Investment and Employment Report, which is an annual report that estimates the number of energy-related jobs based on a survey of over 30,000 employees across 53 different energy technologies. So Virginia has about 130,000 energy workers, about 2% of the 6.7 million U.S. energy jobs. This chart shows the distribution of energy jobs by sector, as we have previously defined them, with the U.S. on the left and the Virginia on the right. Many first think of the energy industry as focused on electric power generation, as shown by EPG in the chart, and fuels. However, most jobs are not in either. In the US, about a third jobs are in transmission, distribution, and storage, and a third are in energy efficiency, with power generation and fuels combining to make up the other third. In Virginia, on the right, we see that distribution change. We have a larger proportion of workers in energy efficiency. 3 out of 5 of the energy workers in Virginia work in energy efficiency, and most of these employees work in Energy Star-related firms. This chart narrows down on the electric power generation jobs. When we look closer at electric power generation employment, we see that most of these individuals work in solar. Solar makes up the largest segment of employment related to electric power generation, with about 4,200 jobs, and traditional fossil fuel generation at about 2,760 jobs in Virginia. For the same reason it's difficult to estimate energy jobs, it's similarly difficult to predict future energy-related employment. This national annual study asked the question in a survey, do you expect to hire in the next 12 months? This chart compares their answers among those in Virginia, which is blue, and the US as a whole in the orange. Energy efficiency employers expect to hire the most, followed by electric power generation, then transmission, distribution, and storage, and the fuel sector shows the least promise for hiring. This report projects that expected hiring in Virginia in energy efficiency and in electric power transmission, distribution, and storage will outpace the US as a whole. In the same survey, employers in Virginia gave the following as the top 3 reasons for hiring difficulties: lack of experience, training, or technical skills, difficulty finding industry-specific knowledge, skills, and interest, and insufficient qualifications through either certification or education. A career cluster in energy will address these concerns by pairing data for an occupation with information on the skills and knowledge necessary for the occupation. The cluster will display pathways between jobs that share requirements, demonstrating the breadth of opportunities open to students pursuing study in these areas. So energy is not currently one of the 16 nationally recognized CTE clusters. By creating an energy career cluster, Virginia joins only a few other states to modify the national system to add a cluster specifically for energy. As mentioned before, the energy industry is interdisciplinary and spans multiple industries. According to the Center for Energy Workforce Development, currently existing energy jobs fall into 4 of the 16 career clusters, as seen here. For example, equipment technicians, now part of Ag, Food, and Natural Resources cluster, could be appropriately understood under the energy cluster if their work involves the operation or installation of energy efficient equipment or of equipment such as solar panels to capture natural resources for energy supply. Similarly, many occupations not explicitly shown in the graphic above are found in the energy sector. Scientists, engineers, and mathematicians may be part of teams working on energy projects or research in the energy field. So here are the Virginia occupational estimates and projections for a few energy sector occupations. These are developed using our Weldon Cooper Center analysis of Virginia Employment Commission data. All of these careers are projected to grow through the year 2026 and have wages above the Virginia median. So I'll finish with some information about energy as it has been integrated into this Virginia CTE cluster framework with the creation of the 17th career cluster in energy. As a result of research conducted by us at the Weldon Cooper Center in the University of Virginia and meetings with the Virginia Energy Workforce Consortium, industry and economic experts, and education leaders, the career pathways in completer courses have been identified. The new energy career cluster and career pathways are available for statewide implementation beginning July 1st, so they're available now. The energy career cluster will equip students with knowledge and skills common across the energy sector to prepare them for a full range of occupations and career specialties within energy. Background research suggested that the structure of the energy cluster be built upon the 4 sectors which were defined earlier in the presentation: fuels production, power generation, energy transmission, distribution, and storage, and energy sustainability and efficiency. These sectors are the pathways under the energy career cluster, allowing differentiation and specialization within the larger cluster. This figure shows some example occupations under each pathway. It's neither exhaustive or final, relevant to the list of occupations relevant to the energy industry. In response to the economic development and evolution of the Commonwealth, new courses and competencies will be developed continuously with additional occupations added to each cluster. At the end of 2019, the Virginia Department of Energy, the Department of Education, convened panels of business and industry subject matter experts to identify the knowledge and skills required for entry-level careers in the energy sector. Shown in the graphic here are the resulting course sequences for each pathway. The knowledge and skills identified by the business and energy panels serve as the basis for determining at least 2 courses in each of the energy pathways. The development of the 2 courses in each career pathway will be designed as sequential electives. Additional energy courses will be developed based on workforce demands in the 15 local workforce development areas. The Energy and Power course, previously developed by the Virginia Department of Education and the Center for Energy Workforce Development, will serve as a third course in the sequence that students may choose if it is offered. It's more advanced than the others and also up for revision this year. The course will provide advanced knowledge and skills pertaining to a wide variety of energy occupations. The energy cluster plans of study begin at the secondary level and lead to post-secondary education and careers. CTE competencies at the secondary level focus on foundational knowledge, skills, and technical abilities that lead to opportunities for students to earn industry certifications or occupational licenses. The energy cluster will prepare students to immediately enter the workforce with a competitive advantage and/or continue with post-secondary education to earn more advanced skills. As shown in the figure here, students can enter, exit, and re-enter pathways at any point in their education, from secondary to post-secondary. Businesses and industries support students throughout the continuum of learning with continued educational and work-based learning opportunities. Thanks so much, and if you have any questions about this, please feel free to reach out.
Thank you, Spencer. Next, I will give you an overview of the process and courses as we develop them. The cluster came about because of this piece of legislation driven by the Consortium for Energy Workforce Development and its members. We made every effort to include renewable energy, natural gas, coal, and oil, as well as those from the electric industry in developing the cluster. In August of 2019, a large group of diverse energy representatives and a few educators met. We saw the Weldon Cooper research presentation, which identified energy industry sectors that were chosen as pathways. We split into groups to identify occupations, knowledge, skills, and abilities for pathways with the help of the staff from the CTE Resource Center. In November, representatives from industry and education met in smaller groups, had discussions, and made recommendations. Pathways were prioritized and tentative titles for courses were given. As a result of these first meetings, curriculum meetings were prioritized and scheduled. Our curriculum process uses industry representatives and educators, and they're invited to serve on curriculum writing teams based on their interests and expertise. Letters of invitation went out, and many chose to participate in more than one cluster development. The first pathway meeting was January 23, 2020, and a writing team was held for first priority, energy, sustainability, and efficiency. The team met in a face-to-face meeting, which allowed for much discussion and debate. The result was the two courses which make up the energy efficiency pathway. Energy supply, sustainability, and efficiency, and energy demand, sustainability, and efficiency. Students in the energy supply course will explore the principles of energy supply with an emphasis on sustainability and efficiency. The concepts include energy supply and sources such as wind, solar, nuclear, and biomass, energy generation, innovations in energy, and career explorations. Students apply knowledge by designing, mapping, modeling energy systems, and will recognize their role as energy stewards of tomorrow. In the energy demand course, students once again explore the principles of energy demand with emphasis on sustainability and efficiency. Concepts include energy demand and utilization across sectors such as residential, commercial, and industrial and transportation sectors. Students apply the design process to improve facility efficiency, perform energy audits, explore new and emerging technologies, and will recognize their roles again as energy stewards of tomorrow. The next meeting on February 24th and 25th developed the courses for the transmission, distribution, and storage pathway. The energy transmission and distribution course provides students with the foundation in electricity, transmission, distribution, and storage, including smart grids, distributed energy. Students participate in hands-on activities such as designing and building models of grids and gas systems. Students explore policies, trends, and careers in energy. In Energy Transmission and Distribution Advanced, students use hands-on applications like designing circuits, smart grids, and gas systems to deepen their knowledge of concepts, laws, and theories related to energy transmission and distribution. Students use and interpret engineering and technical drawings. They explore emerging trends and consider how energy transmission and distribution affects societies and the environment. The fuels production pathway group met on March 5 and 6. The courses developed were energy source life cycle and application of engineered energy systems. In the life cycle course, the students are prepared with a foundation on different sources of energy, extraction techniques, transportation, and additional refinement of energy sources. Students participate in hands-on activities such as designing and building models. Students explore environmental and health aspects of energy production and careers in energy. Application of engineered energy systems. The course provides students with a foundation in engineered systems within energy. Students participate in hands-on activities such as designing and building models and explore safety standards and the societal impact of engineered systems, including the relationship of utilities and consumers. Careers in energy are also explored. Lastly, the power generation courses were developed. This was the most difficult pathway to complete because it had to be done virtually due to COVID-19. Industry folks kept working on it until they were satisfied. This is much easier to do in a face-to-face environment. The Fundamentals of Power Generation course, students learn about energy types and transformations and electrical theory. They explore and model turbines, generators, and photovoltaic systems. Environmental impacts of energy systems are examined, as well as health and safety issues in energy and power and energy policy and trends. Power generation design and function. Students analyze core systems, perform tests, calibrations, and measurements, explore operating and maintaining power generation systems, including diagnosing systems issues and repairing core systems with an emphasis on safety. They explore trends and technology innovations. The first course prioritized was energy efficiency. That pathway was prioritized. And therefore, the first training session for teachers was energy supply, sustainability, and efficiency. There were 18 participants who completed the training, which was held July 20 through 24, 2020. Of these, at least 5 intended to implement the course this fall, and some of them in the coming spring. We thank all the industry personnel who gave their time, energy, and expertise to the writing of the curricula. Your time and contributions are greatly appreciated. Please partner with local schools to offer these courses. If you should have questions, you can contact me at this information. Next up is Matt Kellum with Dominion Energy. He is also with the Consortium for Energy Workforce, Virginia Energy Workforce Consortium, excuse me.
Thank you, Lynn, and thank you, everyone. My name is Matt Kellum. I am with Dominion Energy, and I'm the company's military and recruitment program coordinator. But as Lynn mentioned, I'm also the chairperson for the Virginia Energy Workforce Consortium and have served in this role for the past 5 years. To provide a little bit of overview of what I'll cover here for the next few minutes are an overview and some of the accomplishments of the VEWC, Virginia Energy Workforce Consortium, a little bit of additional information about the 17th Energy Cluster, the background and implementation, some of the relation to post-secondary education and related opportunities, and then I'll also provide a little bit of perspective on some of the same energy industry demand data that Spencer was able to share for the state of Virginia. Here you can see the vision and mission of the VEWC, and very simply put, as was mentioned earlier, we are the state level consortium of the Center for Energy Workforce Development, and whether it's at the national level or here at the state level, our purpose is to bring together industry association, secondary and post-secondary education, government and community organizations, all to work towards creating better awareness about the energy industry and the careers in our industry, as well as the education and training pathways that lead to those careers. And where the education and training pathways don't exist, leverage good data and our partnerships to help implement that. And I believe the 17th Energy Career Cluster is a great example of that. Here are a few accomplishments that the VEWC has had over the past few years. You'll notice that these are noted as being 2019 accomplishments. That's not for lack of activity in 2020, which we've certainly had plenty of, but this slide I think best reflects some of our in-person activities. Over the years, and since I've actually been an active part of the VEWC, which has been since the beginning of 2011, we have very continuously worked on our state level alignment and partnerships. And I think that this is a great example of that, where we have an excellent partnership with the Virginia Department of Education, and again, many of the other state level associations and industry partners and educators and the like. With that, we've been able to regularly increase our membership, which is very important, especially when there's a call to action like the one that's been mentioned by Lynn, where we have industry partners and other education partners coming together to implement something like the 17th Energy Career Cluster. Something else that's very notable is the second full week in October is typically Careers in Energy Week, not only nationwide, but also it has been proclaimed as such for the past 3 years here in Virginia by our governors, and the proclamation has again been submitted for 2020. Careers in Energy Week is a great time to partner with industry and education and other individuals to create awareness about careers in the energy industry. So that is something to look forward to each year and here in the coming months. The VEWC has worked very closely with the Virginia Chamber of Commerce to launch 2 years ago the Get Into Energy Innovation Challenge. Keeping it somewhat brief, that challenge has done quite well, but very sadly this past school year, the 14 schools that were participating and their industry partners were not able to present due to COVID on Monday, March 16th, as we were all instructed to work and school from home at that time. Good news regarding the Innovation Challenge is in partnership with the Center for Energy Workforce Development. The folks at CEWD do see some opportunities to turn that into a national and more easily accessible virtual challenge. So more to come on that. And of course, we have the 17th Energy Career Cluster, which we'll touch on. And we're proud of the fact that we've also been able to partner with the Department of Education and the Virginia Community College System on implementing energy education courses as well as training programs. Just a couple other things worth noting, and some of these have been mentioned in the previous slides by Spencer and Lynn. But one thing is that the VEWC, through all of the efforts and accomplishments that I mentioned on the previous slide, we again have been able to have a place in the Blueprint Virginia 2025, recognizing the work that we've been doing towards workforce and talent pipeline development. The next few items that you can see there, they're actually themes of our general body meetings in 2019. And I thought those were important to include there because it actually references the efforts that we are making in partnership with the other companies, industry associations, educators, and other organizations alike to work towards creating better awareness about the energy industry, careers, and pathways. And one of those meetings in September of 2019 included representatives from the Virginia Labor Market Information Shop. We felt it was very important for them to be able to share with us some of the information that Spencer was able to share, but very important to understand what does the workforce demand and workforce data look like here in Virginia so that we can better implement regional and local solutions to our career and education pathway opportunities. And then of course, one of the more notable pieces of recognition is Executive Order 43, which references the clean energy executive order that Governor Northam executed last September. And it does specifically mention the VEWC and our efforts to be able to help execute on that. A little bit about, at a very high level, VEWC strategic plan, but just so you know that we are focused on each of these areas. And these are in no particular order, but certainly, again, career awareness is very important to us as we're partnering with you all, educators and others across the state. Of course, we want to always pay attention to the education opportunities, the courses, the clusters, and other post-secondary opportunities for students and others to pursue to get into our industry. Again, it's very important for us to pay attention to workforce planning and the related data so that we can implement at a state, regional, and local level the proper solutions. And then internally, it's very important for the VEWC to have a sound structure and appropriate support. And we have committees set up for industry demand data, communications, and education, as well as a well-established steering committee. A little bit more about the Energy Career Cluster. To provide a little bit of background, and so not to overly reiterate what's been said already, I think some important pieces of information is what took place almost a decade ago. Again, I mentioned I happened to become very involved with the VEWC in 2011. It was in 2011 and 12 that the VEWC recognized then that we needed to do some workforce demand analysis and also look at what energy and education training programs existed in the state of Virginia. And what we were able to determine on the workforce demand side is some pretty good data. It was admittedly very manually gathered, but some pretty good data which gave us some good direction for some of what we would accomplish over the past 8, 9, or 10 years. But also we recognized that there were no specific energy education programs at the secondary level at that time, and then none at the post-secondary level, at least at the community college system level. So we recognized that we needed to use that data and really drive forward with a couple of goals, but specifically getting energy education into the school systems. So really the pursuit of the 17th Energy Cluster started way back then, really with relationships with Lynn and some of the others, and David Eshelman at the Department of Education. And we continue to build those relationships and help educate those at the state level the importance of energy and energy education. Fast forward to 2014 and 15, Lynn referenced, I think, or maybe it was Spencer that referenced the Energy and Power course. And that's actually a course that uses the Center for Energy Workforce Development's Energy Industry Fundamentals framework. And that was implemented back in that 14-15 timeframe. And we're very proud of how it's been offered and some of the successes with that. And building on that, again, as Lynn mentioned, there was a House and Senate bill passed in the first quarter of 2019, working with the DOE to add the energy cluster, pathways, and elective courses. And then as Lynn covered well, we've had a really great partnership with them, with industry representatives, the Department of Education, and other educators working to build the 17th Energy Cluster as it is now. Again, just to reiterate, the different pathways are fuels production, and you can see the 2 elective courses that Lynn mentioned there: energy transmission, distribution, and storage, power generation, energy sustainability, and efficiency. Some other really good things that we were able to do in partnership with the Department of Education, as well as Henrico's CTE folks, is we were able to work with them to update the 17th Energy Career Cluster page. Also work on promotional videos for the different pathways. Now, sadly, due to COVID-19, we were only able to accomplish that for the first 2 pathways, but we were able to continue on and record podcasts for all 4 of the pathways. And I would encourage folks to listen to those podcasts because they do include industry guests that are able to talk about those respective parts of the industry, different careers and opportunities, and also tell a little bit about their story, which I think is quite meaningful for educators, parents, and students as you might be exploring the energy industry and the cluster pathways and related courses. Again, just to make sure that we're always paying attention to post-secondary energy education, some of the things that the VEWC is always mindful of as we're working not only with our DOE partners, but the community college system partners as well, is connecting the pathways. We want to be aware of and allow the educators to work together on registered apprenticeship programs, career certificate programs, and of course, associate and bachelor degree programs as the 17th Energy Cluster might stack credentials to those. The other opportunities are to continue analyzing existing energy programs at the post-secondary level and where there might be some opportunities. Understanding, again, the future workforce and skill set demands so that we can very deliberately implement those at the regional and local levels with those schools, and then identifying any gaps and recommended programs. Here are some of the existing community college programs and universities that are offering energy education. It doesn't spell out the exact program, but it just references what is out there. Community colleges, there are 2 power line worker programs throughout the state. There are at least 3 solar technician programs, at least at recent count. There are career study certificate programs, some of which are specifically energy technology, and then others are related career study certificates that would feed into the energy industry. And then again, associate degrees. And some of these programs actually include the energy technology E&E related courses. And I think there's 27 or so total of those, at least at last count. And then again, there are some of the four-year colleges and universities that offer energy-specific programs at the bachelor's, master's, and doctorate levels. This particular slide is one that I would like to call attention to. One of the things that the VEWC is doing is working more closely with the CEWD, and on our website, which will be provided on the very last slide that I'll share with you, we link to energy education programs and training locations on CEWD's site. And one thing that we hope that all of the educators in the state of Virginia would do is to submit one of these sponsorship forms to CEWD, and you may list me and Dominion Energy as your sponsor for the time being, but we'd like to have your energy program recognized in CEWD's education and training locator so that it's easier for folks across the state and maybe even folks outside of the state coming in to recognize where we have energy specific education and training programs. So again, if you have any questions, you're welcome to contact me or just fill out that sponsorship form with myself and Dominion Energy listed as a partner. And then finally, here's a little bit more information about the energy industry demand in Virginia. I believe some of this information complements what Spencer shared earlier, but some things to point out is the total jobs, as you can see, projected. Now, again, I know it's 2020, but the chart comes from 2019 and goes through 2028, and it shows about a little over 2,700 or about 2,700 jobs due to retirements and attrition. What that doesn't factor in is contractor and supplier data. And it also focuses on data with the utility industries that are publicly owned and operated. So you can see and imagine that there's still additional data and probably thousands of other positions that aren't captured in this one snapshot. And I think was even referenced on the energy efficiency side, there are a number of opportunities out there. And in some of the information that I've heard in other discussions, tens of thousands of opportunities just in Virginia alone on the energy efficiency side. So again, this is just a snapshot, but rest assured there are plenty of opportunities in this industry that will continue to innovate and grow with the business that we're in across our different sectors. And that is my time for now. Here's my contact information. Again, I'm Matt Kellum with Dominion Energy, also serving as the chairperson for the Virginia Energy Workforce Consortium. And I welcome any emails that folks may like to send my way. And there is also the website to the VEWC's virginia.getintoenergy.com site. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Matt. On behalf of the entire Office of Career, Technical, and Adult Education, it's my privilege and honor to bring closure to today's webinar. For CTE directors, just a reminder, looking at all this information and looking to add any of the new courses in energy, just a reminder that you do need to complete the CTE new course application request. As you can imagine, this is a very big undertaking, and our office in no way could do this alone. So it is my privilege to be able to recognize those that have participated. And first, I would like to thank our panel for your time, your insight, and your commitment to Virginia students. Thank you, Matt, and the members of the Virginia Energy Workforce Consortium. We were able to present multiple times with your group, and we really appreciated the opportunity for feedback as we continue to evolve the development of the career cluster in energy, as well as the 4 new pathways. Thank you, Spencer and Meredith and the entire staff at the Weldon Cooper Center. We really appreciate the partnership that we have over the years, and your input in the development of the 17th career cluster in energy was vital for us moving forward. So thank you very much for everything that you've done. Dr. Lynn Basham, thank you As our technology, education, and related cluster specialist, thank you for your dedication and your work seeing this project through. We know this is a never-ending project, as curriculum never-ending, and it continues to evolve, but take publicly to thank you for your dedication to development of this career cluster in energy and the continued development of our 4 new paths. I would also like to take this opportunity to thank all of the teachers and the business and industry throughout the energy sector that have been mentioned briefly at various stages of development. None of this work, particularly the course development, would not be possible without all of these individuals' time and commitment and passion for their specific career sets and skills that have evolved. The conversations were vital as we developed our courses. So thank you very much. And as Matt mentioned, I do say thank you to Mac Baton, the CT director in Henrico County, and his staff who helped develop and produce all of the promotional videos and podcasts. And I agree with Matt. The idea behind that project was, no one, in some cases are not really interested in the pathway, the name of the pathway, but students want to know, what is it that you do in this pathway, in these careers? And those podcasts and the interviews that are there are fantastic, and we will continue that work as we move the pathways forward. But at this time, I would like to say thank you. And as always, as they're looking to build out the pathways in the energy career cluster, contact our office at any time for questions, concerns, procedures, things to do, next steps. Please do not hesitate to reach out to our office. So again, on behalf of the Office of Career Technical and Adult Education, thank you for joining us, and we look forward to what lies ahead.